So 11.9 is scoped. Worked with Sean and Andre to not in sync, just asynchronously. We've traded messages, and everybody can see those in Slack. But if you click on that link, it shows the priorities that we're working on. And so if you scroll through them from right to left, there should be really no surprises. So we didn't add anything radically new in the plan team, for example. So it's mostly stuff that we've always been working on. In particular, a couple of things to note. Security things are still always highest priority. And highest priority is always stuff that you're actually working on, right? So you shouldn't stop something and then jump to something else. And how that's relevant is that if there's spillover, you should finish those things first. And so I will update this board, or I'll update issues and move them to 11.9 as the freeze approaches us on Friday. But other than security things, it's really portfolio management. So epics. So child epics has been well received by customers and our internal folks. And I'll get to a point about that later on in this meeting. But for example, I saw like marketing team use them, which I was really excited about because it's not something I would have expected. And they're the first, one of the first teams that have said like, we'll just use child epics. And it didn't seem like a process or anything. It seemed like somebody was just started doing it. And then, so that's good because then it means the feature is designed well and there's usage of it. Other than that, go ahead, Sean.
So I was just going to say on the security thing, I think I mentioned before that I've got a task at the end of this month to go through and look at like when the security issues that we're fixing were introduced, right? Like, so like, are we introducing new issues and then fixing them and just on like endless hamster wheel, or are we like, mostly fixing issues that were there for a long time that we just didn't know existed? I haven't done that, but there are 9 issues with the label plan and the label security that aren't in 11.8 or 11.9, if that makes sense. So,
So are they scheduled for later milestone, you mean?
Some of them are labeled security, but not confidential.
Right.
The type of thing like, they might have a security impact, but aren't actually a security
Vulnerability.
They don't follow in the normal security process, if you know what I mean, because they're I cannot think of the words, but you get what I mean, right? Like they're not an exploit; they're an improvement that we could make that relates to security in some way.
Right,
or maybe it's an improvement that we want to make that has security implications, so somebody added that label.
Right. So Robert Schilling, in our core team, right, just volunteered like a couple of hours to work on exactly one of those improvements.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's
so those, I'm including those because we don't have the confidential filter, which he's going to work on. So that's the one that Victor's talking about. He's going to work on adding a filter for confidential issues, which will be super useful because I could use that here as well. But for now, I'm just using label plan, label security. We haven't had a P1 in a while,
that's great.
I want to say it's because we're all great. It's more likely that it's just less likely to have a P1 in plan than it is in, say, manage. And that's just the nature of what we're working on and what they're working on. But it's still good for us. So basically, I expect the volume of this, the impact that this has on our, milestones to go down after 11.9 quite significantly. If the current trends continue.
That's great. And then I think what I would like is to then be a little bit more aggressive on just clearing bugs. So let me, for the sake of everybody here, I'm going to attach a link in the agenda to plan bug issues.
So one interesting thing about that is some of the security issues that have been reported through HackerOne, we would previously have classified as bugs because the security issue is also a bug, but we would not have been as necessarily, I don't know what the right word is, as diligent about classifying it as a security issue when it is. And so yeah, that's also come to light there. But I'll take a look at your bug board now.
Yeah, no, I agree, Sean. That's it's like a forcing function to make us be a little bit better there. So, I mean, my goal is just to get rid of P2 bugs. Well, first of all, we don't have P1 bugs, which is great. Well, I mean, if they're P1 bug, it's probably a security bug anyways. But we don't have any P1s. So if you filter that board by P1, you get nothing, which is always a good thing. And if you filter by P2, you get a few that I've spread across the next few milestones. I also see one in the backlog, which is not good.
Yeah, so I see 6 in 11.9, for instance.
Right, and I see. Okay, maybe these are new, or I haven't been pinged on them. Definitely have not reviewed this recently. So, like a goal I have is to like clear our P2s away as soon as we can reasonably, and then our P2s will be our new P1 almost. Like the moment a P2 pops, we don't have to like stop everything and fix it, but we should be able to
Put it on the next milestone.
Exactly. Not have to wait like 3 milestones. And so once we have P2s under control, as it were, then we can slowly work on P3s, which are like we'll never get done. And so to me, P3s are like something that we'll live with, and maybe we track like how many we have them open over time. And so, for example, we have over 100 P3s right now, and then P4 is like they won't get fixed, I don't think.
Well, yeah. To be honest,
until a P4 will get fixed if it becomes a P3, in my opinion. That's
right. Yeah, I get pings like to classify these a lot of the time, and like when I put P4 on something, it often indicates that like I don't actually know if we want to fix this, or like fixing this like take like someone weeks of work to fix this bug. Like so yeah, we definitely need to review those before doing them. But I think that's a good strategy.
Yeah. So I'm excited that we're getting the security things under control. Then we can get the bugs in general under control. And so if we can get rid of P2s, once we get rid of the security things and get them under control, then we'll have a little bit more capacity to control the P2. But even the P2s, like how per my scheduling, they'll be done in 11:10. I expect stuff to pop up, so maybe we won't be that lucky. But if we get like rid of security things earlier, then maybe we can move a little bit faster. So I'm happy about that. So other than that, the general board, as I mentioned, for 11.9 is about epics, child epics, and now viewing relationships on them. And then traded a little bit of back and forth with Annabelle yesterday on Slack, so folks can look at there. But basically, the source of truth is in the issues themselves. So please feel free to take a look for anybody that wants to collaborate and find out more. And issue boards, we have some small improvements that we want to keep moving on. And then the rest are, bugs, technical debt, Elasticsearch, some UX fixes. The start discussion for a non-discussion comment, that's a really big one. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like we'll finish in 11.8, but it looks like it's a big one that's going to be done in 11.9. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, there is something behind a feature flag that's in master now, but from what I understand from Winnie's comment, we probably shouldn't enable that feature flag right now because it's not like, it's not in a position where we would be comfortable releasing that to people. Just on the Elasticsearch thing as well, because Victor and I had a chat about this yesterday. Elasticsearch, or just search, I should say, because Elasticsearch is a technology and search is the feature, is moving to create, but we didn't touch anything on 11.9 because we already planned that essentially. But from 11.10, that will probably change, and we'll be sort of working on that over the next month to figure out how to switch that over to create. Doesn't really affect UX or front end at the moment because most of the work is we've got this feature that can work on small instances but not on big instances, and we need to make it work on big instances. And then once we can do that, we can actually improve the feature, but it needs to work first. So yeah.
Thanks for mentioning that, Sean. I forgot. I should have included that. So it actually relates to the next topic. But for search, what I'll do is, or not what I've done, is I've included a link to the MR that changes that on the product categories page. So everybody can take a look there. So if the next topic in general is just product categories, and so if you click on that, and so number 3, we have a product categories page. We've always had that, and that page is becoming very involved. So maybe it makes sense to split that up or actually rename that page in the future. But so we essentially have like 4 layers of taxonomy that is relevant to the product and relevant to teams and relevant to product marketing and relevant to probably more things. But so I'll start from a product perspective because this is in the product handbook. So our product. You're on. I should have done that like 2 seconds earlier. I muted John. Apologize if you're watching this after the fact. So in the product handbook, we have a categories page. Our product is a single application for the entire DevOps lifecycle, and it's split into many stages. I think there's 9. I could be wrong, depending on how you count. So if you look on that page, there's DevOps stages, and there's that nice infinity symbol which the industry uses, and then we keep sort of adding it to it because there's like a manage up top and a secure and defend now at the bottom. But we have all those stages like plan, create, verify, package, release, so on and so forth. But multiple of those stages are grouped into what we call sub-departments now. So if the easiest way is to look at the legend on the right if you're looking at a computer. And so, for example, the dev sub-department includes manage, plan, create. I've been asking people just to rename that to the manage, plan, create sub-department because that's just confusing. And then so you see the rest. You have verify, package, and release, and so on and so forth. So what you'll notice is we don't have. I'm pretty sure we don't have dev and ops anymore, which there's several reasons for that, which I probably don't even have all the background information. But that MR there that I just linked actually has a lot of information. So please look at that if you're interested. But so you have different sub-departments that group stages together. And right now, those sub-departments have common people that are at director level leadership, at least from the product and engineering side. So if you look at the dev sub-department, you'll see product is Eric Brinkman, which is one of our 2 current product directors. We have Tommy from an engineering perspective. And then from product marketing, content marketing, and technical writing perspective, I have less background on that, but John, feel free to jump in, but you'll see John's names multiple times in product, you'll see them in multiple times. So if you look at the verify, package, and release sub-department and so on and so forth, you'll see something similar. So within the sub-departments, you have stages. So that brings us to us. So that's plan. So right now, a stage has a single product manager, typically two engineering managers, back and front end. You have product marketing folks, technical writing, so on and so forth. So this is the word it's confusing because like for technical writing and product marketing, those same people like John Jeremiah, for example, will be on multiple stages. But the product manager will be in a single stage. This will get even more confusing later when we keep expanding our teams, so that we'll likely have the cross-functional product development team, a group, which I classify as one product manager, maybe two EMs, engineers, one or two designers. Those will be within a group. And so what I mean by a group is within the plan stage, you have team planning, enterprise planning, and certify. Those are groups. And so because we keep expanding the scope and breadth of our offering, we need more people to work on things. So likely team planning will have its own engineering folks, own product folks, and so on and so forth. And that makes sense to scale at least the product development piece, but then the other pieces I imagine will be scaled more slowly. For example, product marketing and technical writing, because of their nature, will probably scale a little bit slower. So I don't foresee, product marketing hiring more people and expanding that as quickly as product development. And when I keep saying product development, I don't know if that's an official term at GitLab, but that just means for me product and engineering.
So I'll chime in from a product marketing perspective. We're going to double the team size by the end of the year, and we're growing quickly in order from a perspective of facing off on who the audiences are that buy products and are buying things. And so I can give a talk on what I call the hidden IT groups, or the groups of people that represent groups of buyers. So separate conversation, but we are growing as well. But we're not exactly aligned to be one-to-one mapping.
Right. So your growth and expansion will not reflect this scaling. You're expanding for different reasons that are maybe not aligned here. They're like maybe orthogonal. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's yeah, exactly. I think that's fair. I don't like orthogonal because it means we're not aligned. I think we are aligned, except our focus and catalyst for growth is about how do we connect outbound to the audiences that are interested in solving problems that we help solve, as opposed to the inward facing work of focusing on the product GitLab is how do we evolve it and grow it.
Right. Well, and maybe just a really practical example. Do you anticipate that you'll still, for the medium to long term, be owning all of Plan, or will you be part of one of those groups?
So our hiring plan right now, so at a really high level, and I've been having PC problems. I apologize for the feedback. I had to reboot. But the hiring plan at least looks across what we've defined as hidden IT groups. An IT group focused on project management and planning we call organized, to keep things to keep things from being confused. Another group focused on build or development. Another group focused on verification, QA, that kind of activity of CI and verify. Another group focused on operations, running, monitoring, and another group focused on securing and minimizing risk. And as we look at that, eventually I think we're going to have a product marketing manager, at least one, if not several, focused on each of those groups. Right. And we also are looking at how do we support specific verticals or specific places like regulated industries and federal. Right. So public sector and that is also demand. So both Dan Gordon and I and Ashish and the product marketing team with William and Cindy, we're all looking at how do we grow this team to have that kind of outward focus.
That's really cool. So you mean potentially some folks will be aligned, again, that's the wrong word, will be part of these groups, and it'll be easy to put names here, but then we'll have like different taxonomies or whatever, like you said, verticals. So that's really interesting that are just focused on, like maybe like another way to think of it is like how in product marketing, there's like solution pages and like feature pages or whatever, and then solutions are not aligned to product development teams. But you might have like a product marketing person who's uber focused on one or multiple solutions that cut across multiple of these areas.
That's right. And frankly, we haven't even looked at this from a quote solution marketing perspective to focus on going down that path. Okay. Right now, product and solution marketing is really one thing. We do both.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm obviously inexperienced, so I didn't know that.
No, we have.
there's a thing called solution marketing, so I have that.
Yeah, there is, and in fact, if I look at it by the end of this week, we should have 8 or 9 requisitions open. We just completed hiring. It's not public, but we just hired someone to drive and to lead our competitive work as well. So
okay,
that's soon to be announced.
Because this is on YouTube, so now everybody knows.
Victor, I was just curious about this thing, quality not being mentioned anywhere in this page. So Do you have any idea about it? Maybe it's for me to check.
Yeah. So in the model that I've laid out, and we've laid out with Ashish and the team that we've built, the group of qual verify is where quality would definitely fall. So we see that as an area we have to address as an audience. We have to talk to.
Mhm. So what
Thanks,
I mean is,
Yeah. I think I know what Rami is saying. So Rami is saying that there's quality folks embedded within every single stage. And so, for example, Rami is dedicated to the plan stage right now. So open a merge request, Rami.
Yeah, please add those, Ramya. I think like it's really close to the technical writer scenario where one person from quality might apply to multiple stages, but it'd be great to have that documented there because honestly, I don't know who the quality person for like create is. I know you're for plan because like, you know, I could find it out, but like, you know, if it's on here, that helps.
Yeah,
Sure.
this is supposed to be the page for that information. So Rami, please open an MR. There's a if you have trouble figuring out where like the relevant YAML files are, just open an MR and start pinging people. That you can ping me, and I might be able to find out. If I can't figure it out in like 5 minutes, I'll probably like bug somebody else to find out. But it's open an MR. Don't open an issue because then they'll never get it. Just open an MR that's blank if you can't figure it out in like 5 minutes. There's a data.yaml at the really root. There's a stages.yaml. There's a categories.yaml, and you can probably start there. And if you can't figure it out in 5 minutes, like I wouldn't waste your time. Just open an MR and ping me. And
sure.
then figure it out. Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's good. So we got something tangible out of this discussion. I'm excited about that. So so that's what stages, groups, categories, and sub-departments are. Oh, so I linked the same MR twice. And just one tidbit of information. Search, as Sean mentioned, is now in Create. That's already been merged and it's italicized. And that just means that category will not show up on product marketing pages because the data that's driving this particular page is a YAML file, or is multiple YAML files. And they're driving a lot of different things throughout GitLab, the website. Metrics, I wanted to mention just really quickly. You can just click on those links. We've been adding a lot of metrics. I've been behind on adding these to Looker. So definitely I still have to figure out how to take snowplow metrics and add them to Looker. So these are issues that the engineering team has already completed and it's already encoded. And these are all 11.8 or 7. These are all 11.7 issues. So these features are in production. So for the usage ping things, data is being already sent to version.gitlab.com. For Snowplow, I presume that it's already live on gitlab.com and sending to somewhere, and some database that we own. So I've made marginal progress on letter A. So I'll probably find the MR or just finish that work today. But basically how it works in...
Sorry, I just wanted to add something about the last thing just for clarity.
Oh, please.
The directors who are listed for the development side of things on the product categories page will be changing next week in some cases. So like my manager could change or Andre's manager could change. It's going to be announced at the start of next week. It's not going to be a major change for anybody on this call except me and Andre potentially. Like for our teams, it shouldn't really make much of a difference. For UX, quality, product management, it shouldn't make much of a difference. Just calling that out, because at the moment you can see that, for instance, Tommy's listed as the director for engineering for dev, but Tommy is not Andre's manager and he is my manager. So we're going to get that all aligned, to go back to that word. So yeah, that's, nobody needs to do anything with that. Right. It's just like, you're going to see that happen probably on Monday, I think. So
curious, Sean, so is that, are we now, was that full stack? Is that sort of the idea, like, or cross?
No. So directors are responsible for both front end and back end teams, but each team is still front end or back end.
Right. Okay.
with the one exception, which may or may not still be the case because the last time I checked was 2 days ago, so that's probably out of date. That the growth team might have people just working on front end and back end simultaneously because it's going to be a smaller team and it's going to need to iterate quite a bit faster.
Yeah. So I meant like full stack directors, if that's even like.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So whoever.
Yeah.
Andre and I will share a manager along with Gower, Liam, whoever manages the managed front end team, and the new manager who's coming on board as well for front end to help Andre not do create and plan at the same time.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Maybe I'll bug Eric in the next AMA or group conversation or something. Eric Johnson, because then now directors are aligned with product areas, and so there's benefits there because then you're like pushing delivery. But then if you're back end and front end and you're like one of those levels, maybe your concern is about process more. So it's interesting to see that.
So this was actually brought up as a question in the document. It might not be exactly the same as the question you had, but I added to the document that describes this to our agenda document, so you can take a look there at your leisure.
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't want to derail this that much. I just wanted to call that out.
No, that's
that page.
That's exciting. We're always changing, so that's good. So with the metrics, I just wanted to mention that longest epic is an interesting metric that I really want to get. So we're trying to track what's the longest end-to-end chain of epics that people are using. So we're tracking that by every instance we're recording what's the longest one. So we're not like looking at all epics. We're just looking at all epics in a given instance and what's the longest end-to-end path. There's this board game where you have longest path. Is this Settlers of Catan? Has anybody played that? Or is it another game? Anyways, there's this longest path. Okay, bad reference.
You get points in Carcassonne for long roads. Maybe that's it.
Maybe. I'm not even a board game person, so I don't even know why I brought it up. So, we might have a Slack channel. So longest path, longest whatever. So I think, was it Felipe or Yarka that implemented that? But anyways, that's already being sent via usage spring. I verified that because I saw that in the usage spring like a week or 2 weeks ago even now. So we are getting that data. So I created an MR and the data team already merged an MR so that is in Looker-ish. Or it's in like the ETL part or ELT or whatever they call it, part of Looker. And then I have to put another MR to actually create the Looker magic and so that it can show up in our dashboards. So basically I have to do that for all of these tracking thingies. So it's gonna, hopefully I'm trying to finish that this week. And then so I wanted to talk about Jira usage in number 4D, but that relates to 7 as well. So Annabelle, why don't you talk about number 5 first?
Sure. I just wanted to give a quick update. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, the Epic relationship status. So I think it's scheduled for the next milestone. So in like 2 days, hopefully. I talked about this on Slack with Victor, like he already mentioned, but there isn't a final design, but it is ready to be implemented by backend and front end. We're just going to put everything in tabs. I'm going to update the description later today. And then I linked to, the only real question still is the tree design. I linked to a work in progress. We were talking about how to get the difference between epics and issues in that list into an obvious state where you know the difference. I wanted to ask for anyone's opinion, if you want to chime in, is that obvious to you? I took the icons that we have, epic and issue, and the color is whether they're open or closed, which we already use across GitLab, but obviously we're just using the color in this case. It looked weird having icon next to icon, so I just removed the status icon.
It looks obvious to me at first glance, but also the issue in there is called issue, which is kind of a giveaway too. So I don't know if I'm just one small note. The reference that is there for an issue has an ampersand in it, and it should have a pound sign, I think you call it in the US, if it's an issue, which is also a subtle indicator.
But I just was messing around in the DOM. So this is, They're all epics.
Yeah,
I
no,
change the name to
yeah, I get it. I think to me at first it looks like the blues are different to the greens. Like I see that, you know, I'm not colorblind, so obviously it'll be different people who are, but I see the colors first and then the icons, like, as my initial reaction to that. So you know, that's what immediately draws my eye. I don't know if there's a way to solve that though.
Sorry, Annabelle,
And
I
I think
missed
it's
what
fine
you
to
said.
go with it and try it.
I missed what you said about colors, Annabelle. The new Epic is blue, whereas all the other Epics are green. Sorry, I missed.
So yeah, the names are really bad. That's just when I was messing around with something else. But if the epic is closed, we have blue as the status.
Oh, okay,
color.
sorry.
Open, it's green, and then if the merge request is closed, it's red. So if that is not obvious, which it doesn't sound like it is, I will continue working on it.
We don't. Do we have a closed Epic icon? Or we just have a.
It's just the color. That's the epic icon versus the issue icon, and then it's blue if it's closed and it's green if it's open.
What's our, like? Don't we have like a circle? Oh, we do have a circle. What does the circle mean?
Open.
For
Unless it's
issues.
Both, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
But like
so,
at the moment, we don't mix them in the same list, I think is what Annabelle's saying, right? Like at the moment, you can just use a circle because everything's an issue or everything's an epic.
I see.
This is going to have both.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple of dimensions there that we can figure out or iterate on. Okay. That's fine. So I think I see what you're saying. Those icons have never been used in these views, have been like the list and table views. These icons are used in, like, say, the navigation and probably somewhere else.
They're using navigation. They're used as the headers for related epics and related issues.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
this was just an idea. It's definitely not a blocker, so we can continue.
My quick comment is, or suggestion, I guess, is that we can use the same icons for open and closed. And I actually don't think it matters that much whether it's an epic or issue. And we can use the pound sign or the ampersand sign. That's already differentiating. But I don't think, like, why do you care actually whether it's an issue or an epic? Does it actually matter that much in this particular scenario where you're looking at a work breakdown structure, right?
I wasn't sure, but I kind of thought you would care. I mean, if you've got like 50 issues under an epic, that's good to know, versus if you have one issue under each epic, your structure probably isn't the way you want it to be. I don't know. I think it might be good for planning and organizing.
Well,
Yeah, I feel like I'd want to know. I don't want it to be necessarily the most prominent thing about it, but I definitely want to know which of these are issues, which of these are epics, because they do behave differently in some ways. And like the obvious one is like, I'm going to assign somebody to an issue. I'm not going to assign somebody to an epic.
And Sean, the other scenario is that epics are probably the kind of work or kind of thing that an organization is going to do work around prioritizing and making decisions. Are we going to do this or not do this? Once I've committed to doing it, then it breaks down into sub-epics and issues. So I think they're different. I think you do want to know to see the difference.
Yeah, so my point is that if you want to know the difference, you can scan through the ampersands and the pound signs, and maybe you're saying, or the folks are saying that that's not enough. But I was making the observation that if the purpose of viewing this as a work breakdown structure is that you can see everything, in a tree view, and you can see things are being subdivided, then it serves that use case already. So that's really good. And then the next level is there are more specific use cases, like for scheduling issues. You can't schedule epics right now, for example, or if you're doing assignments. And furthermore, there's the metadata for issues and epics will look different, at least in the beginning. So it would actually be easier to pick out the issues from the epics as well, in addition to the pound sign and the ampersand sign. But we don't have to decide on that or even take my...
The metadata, do you mean like assignee, due date?
Right. There's a lot more stuff for issues right now. So I don't know, in your design, are you purposely leaving it out? Maybe you are.
That's just because those were the epics. We don't have any metadata on the epic rows, but I don't think we want to show everything anyway. So I wouldn't rely on the metadata for
What,
trying to
well, yeah, so are you, because we have a design for related issues and also issues in epics where, and those are the same designs, I believe, where like we have, and that was recently implemented, right? I think Constance did that. So my question is, would those metadata attributes be the same in this view that you've designed?
Probably fewer. I haven't figured out which ones yet, but
Okay.
I don't think you need to see everything, and it gets cluttered. And the nesting, we're going to get less and less room each level we go down, and there's just not enough room for all that metadata. I know we have collapsed versions, but I'm not sure that it's all necessary. Like milestone and due date probably aren't as necessary. Maybe assignee is helpful, but right now I'm just working with a blank one.
Okay. Yeah, I would be concerned just more work and inconsistency, but again, I'll just devil's advocate and opposite opinion. With, like, for example, like when you see related issues in an issue, you have all that information there, or you have issues, and even issues in the epic right now, people might complain, oh, why did you take away my milestones or assignees that are inside an issue? Because we already have issue view inside an epic, and then now we're moving it to this view, and potentially we would be removing some information.
That's true. We can definitely try it out, just keeping everything, see how it reacts to all the nesting.
I mean, if we keep everything, that would be the minimal iteration, right? In that sense, and then we can take away stuff if we, or collapse or whatever. But anyways, I like how, Annabelle, you're saying, like, or you're pushing back on me and like trying to define everything right away, and you're just leaving some room for you and whoever engineer works on this to work together to figure it out. So I do like that.
I apologize. I'm asking a question without reading the whole MR and the whole issue, and I should, but I have. How's the order set? Is the order established consistently everywhere, like we do with boards, where if you change the order of two issues on a board, it changes in other places? Is it similar kind of logic that we're thinking about here?
Yeah.
The order, the sequence.
Yeah, I think if you add an issue or an epic, it's going to go to the bottom. I think that's currently we have things set, and if you rearrange it, it will be across GitLab for no matter who goes to it. It'll be in the new order. It's not per user.
No. I mean, but would that order of, so if I were to say that, you know, if I had created, let's say we'd created 5 issues, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I realized, oh shoot, I need to have another issue that kind of has to happen between 1 and 2 sequentially. I want it to live between 1 and 2. And so I add issue 6, and I want it to sit in the sequence 1, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the order I want it to be in.
Yeah,
that's the scenario I'm imagining, because if this is a work breakdown structure showing the logical flow of work, or what people imagine the flow of work might be for something, that order is going to matter to people. Being able to change that order is going to matter to people.
right. And related issues and related epics within an epic are already reorderable, and we're planning on continuing that. So you can reorder to your heart's content theoretically in that tree view. So
but I guess the question is, would the logic from the other views carry forward to here? Meaning if I reorder it one place, it adjusts the order here, or each of these going to be independent of each other?
The former. It will be instance wide. So what we're saying is that right now we already have we have issues, and we have issues within an epic, and we have related issues, right? So related issues cannot be reordered currently. Issues within an epic can be reordered. Issues within an issue board can be reordered. So if you recall, we had this conversation in the demo thingy, right, John?
Yep.
And so that is already in production and working. And so if you change an ordering inside an issue board, it will reflect anywhere those issues appear, including inside epics. Now, what we're saying is that there's more complications. For example, we can have epics of epics right now. And epics of epics do not have an ordering right now. We have an OpenMR that does enforce an ordering. So right now, if you add epics of epics and use that plus thing, they just show up, I think, at the top.
Right.
But we have an OpenMR that was scoped to 11.8, probably won't make it. It's fine. That would allow you to move those around. And now with this new tree view, it becomes a little bit more complicated because how do you move things around in a tree? So I would be fine if we can't move things around in tree right off the bat, but we probably have to be a little bit careful when we scope out this issue so we don't
too
much.
It's the complexity of it being in a tree, and it's the behavior that if I change the order of, in this example, and I'm not going to, if I change the relationship between between several of these entities, whether they're sub-epics or whether they're sub-issues in this kind of a view, at least as a user, my expectation would be that order, that sequence would be carried throughout the instance. And I'm just raising it as we think about this. And I don't think it's essential we do it on day, for MVC1, but it needs to be, I think, on something we're wrestling with.
Yep, I totally agree, John. I've had several async conversations with Fabio and other folks. And my contention is that needs to be the case versus making it per, say, like board or per epic or per whatever.
You and I agree.
Yep, and then I think that's important because the moment we relax that constraint, as it were, then it becomes really messy and we're not opinionated. And I'm of the opinion that given any two issues, or in this case, given any two epics, we need to be opinionated and say, like, this is higher priority than this one, or not the word priority, or this has an ordering over this one. First of all, because it makes our product easier and simpler to implement, but as a best practice, issue A is more important than issue B. That should be carried over throughout your whole organization, because ultimately you have one product development team that decides the order of implementation. Now, if you have multiple stakeholders that decide on different importance to them, then they can use different features of GitLab to represent that. But we should reserve one specific feature in GitLab, namely the ordering feature, for product development teams to use specifically for the case of indicating order, whether that's priority order of shipping something or whatever. We just want to reserve that feature for product development teams ultimately and make that first class. So that's important. So thanks for bringing it up.
I didn't want to derail this, but I thought it was a question I had, and I wanted to ask it because if this gets done as a one-off, isolated from everything else, it will lead to more confusion later on. So awesome. I'm glad you're thinking that way. Yep.
And kudos to Sean and Dawei for inventing the algorithm, and who did it? This was like 2 years ago when we.
I think it was Dawei and Valerie, actually. It wasn't
Valerie.
me.
Yep. I keep forgetting Valerie. We invented this. This is like one of the first things when I came to GitLab. So long story from history. And I came to GitLab. I was like, why can't you reorder issues in an issue board? And I was really annoyed, and nobody believed that you need that. And I'm like, of course you need that. And so now I'm really happy that we have that feature, and then we're carrying it over to like epics and stuff like that. So I'm really glad that the team was able to figure that out. If nothing else, Sean, you're up.
Right. Yeah, just a quick one. Got someone new starting on Monday. I won't mention their name because this is being recorded, but they're in Slack. You can say hi to them. And I'm out next week, so Liam from the Manage team will be helping them get on board in that first week. And then we also have someone else who is hopefully going to accept their offer. They accepted the verbal offer, but they do have a 3-month notice period, so they won't be starting for a while. So that's just like, in 3 months' time when someone new starts, you'll be like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember Sean mentioning that in early February. So there we go. Victor, you wanted to talk about Jira and to stop recording at this point.